Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the Raptors, how they're able to continue to dominate in this Orlando bubble, and the Lakers were able to clinch the #1 seed. Last time they did that was when Kobe Bryant, the late great Kobe Bryant, was playing. So that's what I want to get into in today's video. I'm not going to take too long. But before we get into it, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. And make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content so you don't miss anything. Again, you can also check out the Dreamerspro Podcast on Spotify and iTunes. We have the links in the description below, so you guys can definitely check that out when you're on the go, or maybe when you're less busy and you don't have time to sit down and actually watch a video. But anyway, let's get into it. It's early in the morning, but I wanted to make sure I got this episode done for you guys because I said I'm gonna do it. So I was able to watch that game last night, and I was able to catch the highlights of the Lakers game. But for the first game I watched, which was between the Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat, there were a couple of things I was able to take away from that game. First of all, as we all know, it's an important Eastern Conference seeding game. Right now, looking at the standings in the East, the Raptors are the #2 seed with a 48-18 record. And the Miami Heat are at the #4 spot with the 42-25 record. And after those games last night, things pretty much stayed the same. Last time I checked, I think the Raptors were at the #2 spot, and it's true because the Celtics are still at the #3 spot with 44 wins. And the Miami Heat were able to maintain. They were able to maintain the #4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, some things that I was able to take away watching that game. First of all, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet has been a steady contributor for the Raptors basically since the Eastern Conference playoffs last year. I mean, the dude was he hit so many big shots for that team last season. And I watched pretty much all of the games in the playoffs because that's when Kawhi Leonard was with that team. So I saw so much of him, and he was huge. Anybody that followed the Raptors last season in the playoffs saw just how much of a steady contributor he was. And in the NBA Finals, man, he was hitting incredible, timely, clutch shots for the Raptors. And it seemed like he's basically just a continuation into this season. The Raptors are one of the most confident teams in the NBA, and rightfully so. They're fresh off an NBA championship, and they are the defending champs. So it only makes sense that they have that swagger to them, going into these games. But I think a lot of people in the Eastern Conference didn't pick them as far as like the sexy pick. You probably think of the Milwaukee Bucks going into the season. A lot of people were pretty high on the Philadelphia 76ers because of the star power of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And then, of course, the Boston Celtics with Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Gordon Hayward and these guys. But the Toronto Raptors have pretty much put the league on notice and said, hey, listen, man, we're no fluke team, and we're for real. Now, before I get into more details about the game and some things I wanted to just touch upon, the Raptors do have a history of having great regular seasons. So this is not the first time. What makes this season unique is that they don't have a definitive star. Yes, they have an all-star in Kyle Lowry, and they have an up-and-coming star in Pascal Siakam. So in that case, they do have 2 all-stars. But traditionally, it used to be Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, and they don't have Kawhi Leonard, who is their finals MVP. But nevertheless, they've had seasons in the past when they've done pretty good, but then they get to the playoffs, and then they would go up against LeBron, and things would just come apart. So far, so good. They're having a good season, and now we're going to see if they're able to carry this success and this confidence into the playoffs and actually start beating teams. Now, Tim Legler said he definitely has him as a title contender. LeBron James said it after the Raptors were able to, beat the Lakers. He said he has him as a legitimate title contender. So we just have to keep watching them. Now, on the Miami Heat side, I was able to see the role that Andre Iguodala, who was one of the most sought after not free agents, but late season signings. But he's with the Miami Heat, and he was able to show his worth, his championship pedigree, and he's a really great pickup for that team. So he was there. He was playing some good minutes in the third and fourth quarter. But basically, the Heat played behind for the third and fourth quarters. but they were able to make it a competitive game in the fourth quarter. They were able to chip away at the lead, and at certain points come pretty close. But towards the end of the game, the Raptors just showed their championship resolve, and especially from Kyle Lowry, because he was able to really keep that team steady. He was making some good plays, but towards the end of that game, I think Jimmy Butler kind of blew it for that team, for the Miami Heat, to be honest, because he had 2 untimely turnovers within the last 30 seconds of the game. I mean, one of them, he was catching a pass on the move, and the ball just went off of his fingertips and out of bounds. And I think those 2 turnovers late in the game really ended up hurting the Miami Heat, and as a result, they weren't able to come back. The Toronto Raptors were then fouled. They went down, hit some free throws, and then they ended up winning that game. They closed out the game. So they showed you once again that they still can close out games. And it's no surprise if you look at their record. As I said, they have one of the best records in all the NBA. Now, Kyle Lowry, let's say their leader, he's averaging 20 points a game, 5.1 rebounds, 7.6 assists, playing 36 minutes a game, shooting 36% from the three-point line, 42% from the field. But he's also getting you 1.3 steals for the team. Now, Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, the leader for the Miami Heat, he's averaging 20 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, and 6.1 assists. But he's not a great three-point shooter for that team. He only shoots 25% from the three for the season, but he's shooting 45.6% from the field, but he's also getting you 1.6 steals. And towards the end of that game, you know, Jimmy Butler had some times to go up and try to get a bucket, but he wasn't really able to deliver. And my question really going forward, my 2 big questions, after that game is, will Jimmy Butler be able to come up big for this team in the playoffs time and time again? Just because we saw Kawhi do it and others do it doesn't mean that it's easy. And now he wanted to go play with that team. He is a definitive leader. His DNA and the culture of the Miami Heat work perfectly together. But we're going to have to see if he's going to be able to deliver for this team in the playoffs. So it's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on, and I think all of you guys are going to be keeping a close watch on the Miami Heat going into these playoffs. So that's my final question about the Heat. And on the Toronto Raptors side is, can they continue to win like this in the playoffs? They've always been, for the last 5-6 seasons, an impressive team in the regular season. And last year they were able to win the championship, but the year before that they had a fantastic record in the regular season, and they went into the latter stages of the Eastern Conference playoffs, and they lost. So this year is going to be pretty interesting. Kendrick Perkins has been really high on Pascal Siakam. He says some people think Pascal Siakam is better than Paul George, which I do not agree with. I don't think Pascal Siakam is a better basketball player than Paul George, but some people seem to feel that way. So we're going to see. We're going to see just how well he performs in these playoffs moving forward. So those are my major takeaways from that game. Now, just shifting over to the Lakers for a second. As I said, they were able to clinch the #1 seed in the Western Conference, and the Lakers have a 51-15 record. So now they have sort of the luxury of just resting some guys, experimenting with different lineups for the rest of the regular season, and just going out there and just, experimenting and seeing how things go. They don't have any pressure now to play for the #1 seed because that's already in the bag. Now, looking at the game itself, for the Lakers, Anthony Davis was a monster, man. He played 39 minutes, but he got you 42 points, 4 assists, and 12 rebounds. LeBron chipped in 22 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. And Caldwell Pope chipped in 10 points. Danny Green chipped in 8 points. Dion Waiters got you 7, and Dwight Howard got you 11 points, I believe, coming off the bench for them. And they were able to win that game 116-108. Now, some people have been worried about the Lakers' perimeter defense. They were able to obviously close out this team because I think that if the Lakers and the Utah Jazz were to meet in the playoffs, they would certainly beat the Utah Jazz because they don't have that many explosive perimeter scorers. But if you're talking about the Houston Rockets with a James Harden and Russell Westbrook and the amount of threes that these guys shoot, they're going to have a difficult time dealing with teams like that. The Clippers, when they have all of their perimeter players on the floor, like Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I think that's when we're going to really need to see if they're going to be able to switch really quickly and guard dynamic scores on the perimeter. They've been having some issues with that thus far in the bubble, but nevertheless, they were able to come away with the win. And Anthony Davis can make a case that he's the best player on that team. And if I tell you his numbers, he's averaging 27 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 3.2 assists, shooting 50% from the field, 34% from the three-point line, 85% from the free throw line, getting you 1.5 steals and 2.4 blocks. Those are Anthony Davis's numbers. LeBron, on the other hand, is getting you 25.4 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 10.4 assists to lead the league. And it's the first time he's leading the league in assists in his entire career in his 17th season. So that is extremely, extremely impressive. He's shooting 50% from the field, 35% from the three-point line, virtually 70% from the free throw line, and getting you 1.2 steals a game. So LeBron James has had a really fantastic season. But congrats to the Lakers. They were able to clinch the #1 seed, something, as I said before, they haven't been able to do since the late, great Kobe Bryant was playing with that organization. So that's a good sign for them, and congratulations to them. But now I'm just going to be interested to see what type of strategy they implement moving forward, given that all of these games are finished. I mean, not all the games are finished, but they only have 5 games left to go, and they already have the #1 seed. So it's going to be interesting to see, will they continue to play LeBron a lot of minutes? Are they willing to drop the remaining of these games? Because remember, the Lakers can't assume, okay, we're just not going to play hard and go into the playoffs losing. They want to go into the playoffs with a rhythm. So one would think that they would make their players play some good minutes. So it's not just one of these things, okay, we have the #1 seed, now let's just go sit down and rest. I think they want to make sure that they have a rhythm. They iron out all of the wrinkles that they may have in their offense. Some people are saying LeBron is rested, but a little bit rusty, according to Chris Broussard. So I don't think that they're out of the woods yet and that the game is over just because they have the #1 seed. I think they still need to keep their foot on the pedal and still continue to try to improve as the playoffs approach on August 17th. So for me, those are my major takeaways from those 2 games last night. So what I want to know from you guys is, what are your thoughts about the Raptors? Can they remain consistent? Do you think that Jimmy Butler is going to be able to come up big for the Miami Heat in the playoffs? And what do you think the Lakers' strategy should be now that they finally clinched the #1 seed in the Western Conference? Should they continue to build, or should they just rest their plays and go into the playoffs? So that's what I want to know from you guys. So once again, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, because remember, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.